We actually have some breaking news just coming in the search for the gunman in yesterday's shocking killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO. Police have released this. Look at this. This new photos coming in showing the suspected gunman unmasked inside a hostel. Looks like he's smiling right there. This in the Upper West Side in New York City. CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller joins us now. This is a big piece of evidence in this investigation, John.
Well, it's a turning point. You know, we have been asking the metaphoric question, who is the man behind the mask? At least we don't know who is the man behind the mask, but we see the face behind the mask now. And, you know, police worked with these images. This is at a youth hostel, which is on the Upper West Side. They were there yesterday, last night, actually searching a room that they believe the gunman stayed in. They believe this is a picture of him. He kept the jacket on and the hood up and the mask up almost at all times, according to people in that hostel. But there was this moment at the front desk in the lobby where the mask came down, and you see that smile. And this is so far the only image of his face without a mask, the best image police have. And what they said is, even though it's not quality where you would generate a facial recognition image or something that would bring you to a mugshot if he had a record, what it is it's an image that if you knew him, a coworker, a friend, a family member, you would say, that's so-and-so. And that's why they're releasing it right now. They're trying to speed this up by literally crowdsourcing this clue to the general population.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly need the public's help, as it's now been more than 24 hours with this person, the suspect, on the loose. I mean, where do investigators think he is at this point?
Well, so this is a turn in the investigation. The idea that there was some thinking earlier on that he was a New Yorker because of the savvy way he moved through Midtown, stashed an e-bike, navigated through Central Park up to the Upper West Side, was seen on the Upper West Side earlier in the morning before the shooting, carrying a battery for that bike. It suggested a familiarity that suggested maybe he was a New Yorker, but the idea that he stayed in a hostel up there for 2 days in a room for 4, but there were 2 other men sleeping in there, so he stayed with 2 strangers. That may change the leaning towards someone who came from out of town and tried to stay in a place that would have a minimum number of cameras and not cost very much, and the kind of place where people don't notice people because it's very transient.
Do you know more about the timeline in terms of when these pictures were taken and this rare moment, as you said, where he put his mask down at the front desk at this hostel before the shooting? It just strikes me that he's in this picture smiling.
You know, I don't have the precise timeline, but in that police were up there yesterday and last night. They did a search of the room. The hotel, of course, cooperated with them and got these, the hostel rather, got these images. It suggests he was probably there Tuesday and Wednesday, but give or take a day. That's something investigators know. We have people up there now talking to them, and something we'll know soon, but it appears to be very recent.
What do police do in this situation, John, when, you know, it's been more than 24 hours, he's still on the loose, he could very well be outside of New York City and beyond? I mean, how far do they cast the net at this point looking for him?
Well, I mean, the real net is global, which is he could have gone to Kennedy Airport, got on a flight, and be anywhere in the world right now, which is another reason to release these photos, which show the face. But I think the current thinking is he came in from outside New York, stayed at this transient location, did the job he came for, and is probably back where he came from, which is yet another reason to put these photos out, because is he from Minnesota, where UnitedHealth is headquartered? Is he from Montana or Nebraska or somewhere that has nothing to do with this? Or is he from, Pennsylvania? That's the wild card, and this may help spur that in terms of the crowdsourcing from the public.
Quickly, John, given all of your experience in law enforcement, how quickly, typically, after pictures like this that are pretty clear of his face come out, do you hear from someone who knows the person?
Usually very quickly. You know, I think of the last couple of serial killer cases that I was involved in the NYPD, where we finally got a full face shot with good lighting, and within hours of putting that out, we had people calling in saying, I know who that is. I'm pretty confident that this will work. When you look at that image, if you know him, you'll know him.
Yeah, it's true. Well, certainly we hope so. And it's so important for the public to help and to reach out to authorities as he is still on the loose after killing this UnitedHealthcare CEO on the streets of Manhattan. John Miller, thank you so much.
I want to continue the conversation and welcome in now Bobby Chacon. He is a retired FBI special agent and former leader of the FBI dive team. Bobby, great to have you. Just first, your reaction. I'm not sure if you can see the monitor, but this clear, pretty full-face photo now of the suspect.
Yeah, Rahel, I think this is the biggest development in the case so far. I think that there's somebody, a family, a relative, a friend, a coworker of this guy is going to recognize this. Now, you may have lookalikes, they may have to sift through some of those, but you know, you're showing this image globally, and certainly within the United States and internationally, this is going to be all over, and someone is bound to recognize this guy as a neighbor, as a coworker, you know, as a family member possibly. So yeah, I think that they are hours away possibly from actually having this guy identified if they don't have him identified already.
And Bobby, when you look at this photo, I mean, to me, a layperson, not in law enforcement, this feels pretty significant. I mean, if you know who this person is, you can see the person's smile, you can see pretty good facial features. How would you rate this photo in terms of it being able to potentially identify who this is?
Well, I would say it's not perfect, but it's very good. I mean, it's very good. You can see the shape of his face. He has kind of a unique smile or a grin. He seems very relaxed. I mean, I think with the nose and the chin and the smile, I certainly think people that know this guy, if they see this image, they'll be like, "Oh, that's so and so." So I think this is a great image to put out there, and I think someone's going to recognize this.
And then, Bobby, if we can just sort of reverse track what we now know. So we now have this photo. Police apparently understand what hostel this person may have been staying at. They have these shell casings with these words on it, delay and depose. I mean, from your vantage point, does it sound like they're closing in here?
Absolutely. They're closing in from several different aspects, right? So we already have the forensic evidence. Now we have possible motive, which is, you know, denied coverage. And now you have this physical image. So they're coming at this from many different angles, and each of those angles is progressively getting to the person. I mean, I think it's very much closing in on him, on actually identifying him. Now it's a question of finding out where he is once you identify him. But yes, I think that the motive from those etchings and those rounds to me is clear, that this was a denied coverage type of event. In that situation, you usually have communications with the person who's been denied coverage, and those communications there's a series of them, and they grow in frustration. The person keeps getting frustrated at each turn that it's denied and appealed and denied. And so you might have a series of communications, however that is, probably emails or possibly the website forms on the company's websites, or written letters even, that show a increasing frustration on the part of the person or their family member in this denied coverage. And each letter gets more, probably threats of violence eventually seep into those letters. You'll have somebody, forensic linguistics, go over this and look at those, but there's probably a series of communications that get more and more frustrating from the person ending it, because nobody goes from zero to shooting someone in the chest. There's probably been communications that show a increasing frustration on the part of the claimant.
And just for our viewers, you are looking at another angle at the very least, or a completely separate photo of the suspect, again, without the mask. Bobby, what do you imagine is happening right now within the police force? Is this a sort of all hands on deck now? They have these photos, they flood the streets. I mean, what's happening now as they try to bring this person into custody?
They're combing Central Park looking for his clothes. He probably changed clothes in Central Park. They'll probably find the e-bike there, maybe his set of clothes that he changed out of. They're working the phones on international media like yourself to put this out to as many outlets as they can, to get as many eyeballs on these two photos that you're showing now on the screen. I mean, these are great photos. Somebody's going to recognize this guy. So they're probably working the phones on every both national and international news outlet to get this worldwide image, because someone's going to recognize this guy. The forensic people are doing their job. The canvas people are out in the street still interviewing people both in New York and in Minnesota. And then the media people are really pressing the phones and trying to get this image as widely distributed as possible.